Hey y'all, I hope everyone is keeping up with their health physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, all of that. Because in moments, especially as such, we are losing ourselves. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, how do I get back to myself? And in order to do so, you have to realize some things. And we're going to dive into what it actually means to realize in order to be who we truly are. And that first starts off with the letter R, which is to recognize the shift. And in order to recognize the shift, you need to recall the moment. You see, in our lives, we have a moment or these moments that we make ourselves defined by through our personal or man-made environmental constructs. And in these moments come with thoughts. And you have to ask yourself, are my thoughts life-breathing or are my thoughts life-defeating? You know, am I raising every argument against God, against the knowledge of God and every lofty opinion and feeding myself truth, holding every thought captive? Or am I wallowing in my own self-pity, believing all these fictional constructs? After all, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you have to first start off with your mind. Your mind is powerful. It's a powerhouse. And you have the ability to control what goes in and out of it. And the next we're going to go to is E, which is to examine company. See, a lot of times when we are getting away from our true selves, we leave some people or we pay attention to some people. I saw this actual post by We Are Not Really Strangers on Instagram. And it said to pay attention to who you're around when you feel your best. And at first I was like, yes, we should definitely do that. I love this. I saved it and I thought about it and I was like, I'm wrong. We should pay attention to who we're around when we are at our worst, because when we're at our worst, we're more vulnerable. Why would I pay attention to someone when I'm my very best? Because it could be a friend. I could be at a section having fun with the life of the parties because, oh, I feel good, but what happens after? You have to examine company. Think about the people that you ignore and why you ignore them. The people that you let in and why you let them in. Think about if there's anyone around you that comes at the perfect time. You know how there's times where like, oh my gosh, this person came on time. Are they counterfeit or are they truly God sent? And if they are, what message is God telling me through this person? You know, after all, if you think about even in the Bible, you have the crippled man who he couldn't get up, but it was because of his friend's faith that they brought him to the foot of Jesus through the roof because his friends believed that God can heal him. And that's the thing, you have to ask yourself, who am I surrounded by right now? Why am I surrounded by these people? Are these people bringing me down? Or are they lifting me up? You know, these are real questions you have to think about because what do they say? Company. Iron sharpens iron. Bad company corrupts good character. These are things that are true. Next, we have to assess the difference between resting and laziness. You see, resting is to rejuvenation or recuperation, as laziness is to lousiness. Even if you look in the Bible, it says that those who are weary and burdened come to me and I will give you rest. It also says that lazy hands bring poverty or make poverty, while diligent hands bring wealth. So you have to ask yourself, where's my cutoff? Am I going to continue to watch Netflix and Hulu nonstop on my couch and then wake up and see myself in the same place? Or am I going to take time and do that and then some and find rest in God? Because after all, he did say, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. We have to know the difference between those two. And the next one, I think this is my favorite one, but I mean, all of them are really good, is to list, for L, list the habits displayed when you are your most productive and your least productive. This is so important because sometimes, at least for me, like I can do my bed and make sure I drink my tea and exercise and spend time with God in the morning, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. And I feel good. You know, I'm like, this is gonna be a good day. We're gonna get it started. But what happens when I don't do that? What is making me not do that? My room, it's like when everything is in organization, you know, like I am on top of my game. But when it's not, something's missing, something's messed up. But what is it? You have to think about those qualities. Are there people that you just don't want to be around? You know, it kind of goes back to examine company. When you have to list those things, like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you grooming yourself? Why aren't you? You know, you have your own list. I have my own list. You have to seriously sit down, look at that list, write it down, keep it safe, and look at it periodically, if not every day. Okay? The next one is I, which is to imagine your most fearless self. And that one requires, in my opinion, you just lay down and close your eyes and think about when you were that girl or that guy who was just killing the game. You know, if it means you're looking at an old film that you have or a picture or whatever it is to get your mind straight, get in that zone. When you imagine your fearless self, you have to realize that you have to slay your Goliaths. You know, you don't need the coat of arms or the bronze helmet given by King Saul. What you need is to know the skills that you've already had and put them up to the plate. Imagine your fearless self. Actually, what I want you to do, whenever you can, you don't have to do it now, is to just say, I am fearless, insert name. And think about what fearless, insert name would do, because that person has such a great boldness and assurance in who they are and what they can do, and they will not let anyone stop them. It's not pride, it's humbleness. But it's knowing deep inside, like, you can conquer all, you know? Next, we are going to do Z, which is to my favorite. I love all of them, honestly. It's a zero out excess noise. If you think about it, when you are even with your GPS, you know, to be like very practical, if you're going somewhere that you're familiar with in a sense, or you may not be familiar with, and you use your GPS, whether it's Siri or whatever navigation app you have, forget the point that like you can mute your music or you can like lower down and the GPS can speak louder. In order to hear where you have to go next, you have to lower the noise. You have to cut it off. You can't have people yelling in the background. You can't be on a phone call. You have to turn that tune up and listen for the voice of Siri or whoever or whatever. Because if you don't, how would you know that you need to make a U-turn in 0.5 miles? You know, I like to think about Moses right now. Moses was listening for God's voice. He was listening for God's direction. And by him listening, he knew that he should bring the Israelites out of Egypt. He knew that by listening for God's voice, he'll know that he should camp with the Israelites between Migdal and the sea. By listening to God's voice, or for God's voice, Moses did not let the uncertainty of the Israelites throw him off track. What Moses did was know what God told him and listen clearly, because they were even doubting. They were thinking it was even better to be with Pharaoh and be slaves to Pharaoh, because where they were, they're just going to die. But Moses heard for God. Because Moses was pressing in, he knew that God wanted him to raise his staff and bring it down over the sea so the Israelites and him could have dry land to walk through. So what that means is that in this process of becoming, or this process of getting back to you, you have to zero out excess noise. You have to create an atmosphere where you can just have complete peace in your dwelling place. Not shatter, clatter, blatter, ratter. You need to have complete peace, whether that's candles, whether that's music in the background, whatever, and get back to that. And my favorite one, I think all of them are my favorite one, is to empty your flesh and surrender to God. And in order to even surrender, you have to have a relationship. You have to have trust. And trust is developed through relationship. After all, when you know what God has, or Jesus did on earth, you're able to actually understand, like, this is deeper, like he actually cares, and I can actually surrender certain things. Think about what you have not surrendered, whether it is your dreams or your hobby or lust or relationships. Think about what you have not surrendered, because when you empty your flesh out, you know, they say the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, or something of that magnitude. So when you do that, what you're doing is allowing God to pour back in. Like, you can empty your flesh, and it's a process. It doesn't just happen. Like, trust me, honey, I'm still working, honestly. But you have to empty your flesh and just say, God, I don't know what to do, but I surrender this to you. And I just pray that whatever it is that is in the way of me and you, whatever it is that is distracting me from going forth, that God, you just fill me up and let me focus on you and catch me whenever I fall. You know, as somebody told me this, which I love, and that is like, imagine when you mess up, you fall, but you don't fall to the ground. It's like a trust fall. Like you fall and God brings you back up. So keep that in mind, you know, recognize the shift, examine company, address the difference between laziness and resting. We said L, list the habits that are displayed when you're most productive and least productive. I is to imagine your most fearless self. Z is to zero out excess noise, and E is to empty your flesh and surrender to God. So if you do all of that, hopefully, it can be a foundation for you to truly get back to who you really are, okay? So let's try to do that, myself included, because I can talk, but like I need to do, which I have done, you know, but it's not something you just say, okay, check, it's continuous. So I love y'all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.